Four people with four unique stories on one mission to disassemble corporate brokerage one bad suit and tie at a time. We are the Rebels of Real Estate.
We in there.
Well.
What's
It's
happening,
been a
everybody?
while,
How's
y'all.
everybody doing? It's been a minute.
Did you miss us?
Did you miss us?
What number are we at,
The
Adam?
6 people that listen to our podcast.
We got to stop
No,
saying
it's
that.
more.
It's more than that. It's
It is a
more.
lot of people.
What
Actually,
number are we on, Adam?
We are on number 20.
Nice. Number 20.
We're almost legal.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, we are legal.
We are
It's
legal.
not legal to drink.
Yeah, we're not legal to drink.
21.
We're not. We've had a lot going on, so that's why you guys haven't seen us for a while.
Or hurt us.
Been working
Or
a lot
hurt
behind
us.
the scenes,
A lot behind the scenes. We're planning for
doing work.
our future world domination. And we were in Fort Lauderdale recently
For the retreat.
for
Good
our
time.
leaders retreat. Yeah.
That was a good time.
And
That resort was dope.
it was a nice place, wasn't it?
It was.
a nice place. And if you haven't heard, there's also been this like litigation with NAR going on, so that's consumed
What
a
are you
little bit
talking
of our
about?
time.
It's been super fun.
It's been great.
We're not even going to talk about
We're
that
not
because
going
we'll
to
go
talk
down that
about it
rabbit hole.
today.
All right. What are we talking about today, Lisa?
So one of the things we did at our owners retreat was we focused a little bit on leadership and did some leadership training.
Leadership training.
Development. And we did that too, right? And I know we've talked about leadership probably on every frickin' podcast. We bring it up some way, shape, or form. But interestingly enough, yesterday when I was looking, Forbes came out with an article about the 17 traits of ineffective leadership.
That's a lot of bad traits.
That is a lot of bad traits.
Like, what if somebody has all 17?
What if you even have one of these?
I mean, I'm sure we all have one of those, I would have to think. Maybe not, but
Do you
none of
want
us
to
are perfect.
you want to hear some of these?
Let's hear 'em.
Lacking active listening skills.
Ouch.
I'm good for about 30 seconds.
No, over the years, I've gotten better. But
Yeah.
I definitely have, like I say to everybody, take the cotton out of your ears, put it in your mouth. It's taken me a while to be able to do that, but it's definitely, I've gotten better with
Right.
listening to people. But it's hard I don't want to go to the ADHD thing because we always do, but it's hard for me to shut my mouth and listen. So
You know where I have trouble listening to people? When they're not to the point. Like, if somebody is just hitting me with facts and they're like straight and to the point, I'm all in.
Mm-hmm.
When somebody is like on a 30-minute like rambling of talking about nonsense to get to the point, then you lost me probably 2 minutes in. So that's where I lack active listening skills. Just tell me what you need to tell me right now and get it done. That's how, I don't know. I'm just straight and to the point. Like, nobody has time to listen to your BS. Just let me know what you need and I'll tell you what I need and then we'll keep it moving. Whatever. It's probably anti-empathetic of me, right?
Well, I mean, some of it
It's not even the right phrase. but-
anti-empathetic.
how do you say that? What's that? There's actually a
You're
word for that.
unempathetic.
Unempathetic or something, yeah.
I mean,
I like anti-empathetic.
I like
Anti-empathetic.
yeah. I'm anti-empathy.
I mean, I think part of being in a leadership role, though, is you have to sometimes adjust to other people, right? Like, that's just part of it. So
Agreed.
even if, you struggle with that or people are not direct or to the point, but that's what you prefer, there's people who you can nicely say to them, hey, I only have 30 seconds. So, give me what you need to give me now. But you also have to sometimes let them just go on their rants.
Oh, I do. And then I'm on my phone the whole time.
Well, yeah, I know. How many times Rob's on his phone? I say that to you a
All the
lot.
time. I get yelled at by everybody for that. Kids yell at me for that. Everybody yells at me for that.
Yeah. What about you, Adam? Anything on active listening?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super important. I think not just, visibly showing that you're listening, but also taking into consideration what the person's saying.
Yeah.
What did you just say?
Wow.
What did you just say?
Yo, what is it? The pot calling the kettle black?
That's exactly what it's saying. Yeah, I can vaguely, or not vaguely, I can remember very clearly, just not that long ago, we had a conversation on the phone 20 minutes later. I was like, hey, I think we should. I'm like, dude, did you hear anything that we just talked about? Like anything that we literally just got off the phone talking about?
You were the worst about. That's because you're answering 5 emails while we're on the phone with you. That's what's
Usually.
going on.
Sorry, dude.
Anyway, that's what you should do as a good leader.
We're all guilty, apparently, of that.
All of us.
We all suck.
It happens.
Yeah.
as long as we can admit to our suckiness, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So this one I think is more driven in different fields than probably what we have, but not being able to differentiate leading from managing.
Oh yeah, we're good. I think we're all pretty good at that.
Yeah, I've only experienced seeing that in industries where people come up from like individual contributors and then they're going into like a leadership role and they have no idea, they don't know how to adjust to that. So it's a little bit different when
or they adopt a previous manager's like bad habits.
Yeah.
Like they were managed poorly, so then they feel like that's how you're supposed to manage. So then they manage the same way. See that a lot.
Yeah. I think in the experience I've seen it's more people who are comfortable being in that individual contributor role and they don't want to do what's uncomfortable. So that's where they struggle with it too. So believing you have all the answers.
I feel like we have none of the answers. I feel like we're the opposite in a lot of things.
I do think when you're younger, sometimes you feel like you have to have all the answers or you're not seen as, especially if you're young in a leadership role, you know, and maybe your peer group is much older than you, much more experienced than you. And sometimes you feel like you have to have all those answers.
I agree with that.
Instead of just going, you know what, I don't know. Let me ask. Right.
Yeah. That's actually a difficult skill, I feel like, to learn, like being able to just admit that you don't know anything. It comes with age.
Is it because we're taught at a young age that we have to be perfect? Is that what it is?
I mean,
I don't know.
I mean, think about the way school's set up.
Yeah.
Like you have to be right? 90% of the time to get an A.
Sports, go to win.
Yeah. Yup.
This is true.
My mother used to beat me if I didn't get it right.
Yeah.
So
Wooden
there's
spoon.
that.
I used to get the wooden spoon.
Did you get the wooden spoon?
Oh, hell yeah.
I got the wooden spoon.
I got it all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all of it. The belt, the wooden spoon, the switch from out back, the big, huge
I got
paddle.
the wooden paddle, but it broke, and I laughed.
Oh, yeah. That's the worst. I remember I did it with a wooden spoon, and my mom destroyed me.
The last time
Sorry,
my mom broke the wooden spoon over my rear end, and that was it. Like there was no more spankings after that.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, my mom did that, flinch. And I was like, "Ha!" And then I was like, I got destroyed. Like she just laid into me. I'm like, oh man, sorry, Mom.
We're going down another rabbit hole.
No, I got the wooden spoon once, and unfortunately, my mom married a not nice man who used to like to hit with the belt, so that was always pleasant.
Yeah, the belt sucked.
Building an ego based on your title.
Oh, you see that a lot.
A lot.
You see it a lot.
We see it.
Typically, that happens though when people are gifted a position that they didn't earn.
They didn't earn.
I think if you earn the position, it's different than when you were just given the position, if that makes sense.
Or if you feel that you have to try to prove yourself, or you've been trying to prove yourself your whole life and you're trying to prove yourself to other people around you, and then that ego comes, and then you realize, I'm speaking for myself, and then you realize, oh, wait, it doesn't mean anything.
I might just broke.
And then you kind of reframe it, struggling today. Wow. Yeah.
The plot to sabotage the rebels of real estate.
All right, let's do this for the rest. I'm good with it.
Striving for perfection.
I don't know if that's a bad thing, though, is it? That's tough. I guess if you...
Is this a middle one for you?
If you OD it... I mean, you should strive for greatness, right? Like, strive for perfection. I don't think to the fault where you look at people because they did something wrong, but shouldn't... If you're in a leadership position, shouldn't you strive?
I think striving for perfection, but being okay with not being perfect.
Not beating people up over it,
right. But doing your best to try to be your best.
Yeah, understanding that nobody is perfect, but striving for it. You have to strive for... I don't know. It's weird.
But there's no such thing as perfect.
Shut up, Forbes.
I think
You're right.
When you think of this, though, too, like, if you're striving for perfection, then you're almost saying you have to be good at everything. And then you're using people for the wrong reasons, right? You're saying, well, you may be really good at public speaking, but you are horrible at writing.
You know what? If I have to have her go under surgery, I hope my fucking heart surgeon strives for perfection. I'm just saying. like, right? Like, think about that. Like, if we're not striving for perfection in a lot of things, like, what are we doing then? I know you can't be perfect, but you have to strive for it.
I agree.
You're just mediocre.
You know, whatever we get behind, or, you know, at least for me, whatever I get behind, I want it to be on point. You know, it's my reputation, my name, my integrity, you know. So it's important to me personally.
I think if you don't hit the mark, though, it's not beating the shit out of yourself, beating yourself up over it.
Yeah, and not being paralyzed either to the point where you're not getting stuff accomplished.
I see what they're saying, though.
It goes to what I was saying.
Yeah.
It's using people for their strengths, not their
Yeah.
weaknesses.
It's kind of poorly phrased, I feel like.
Yeah.
Whoever wrote this article in Forbes, do better.
Oh my gosh.
Do better.
Needing to solve every problem. How that impacts you. That's a negative thing for leadership.
I think good leaders are the ones that have the ability or learn to be able to step back and allow the team members, even though they may be wrong or fail, but allow people to have that independence to, approach challenges and problems and, grow within those positions, and not try and solve everything right away or fix it, because you're not really promoting, the team's ability to be creative and independent and operate without one person. And then you become, I feel like, closed into one person's opinion all the time. You as the leader, and the group becomes afraid to express what they, see or changes or want to do or implement. So I think that's hard, especially for somebody starting out in business, because it's all you, right? When you do it, it's got to be your way. And when you bring new people into the mix, it's not going to always go that way. And that's a challenge to be able to take that approach.
And I remember you struggled with that in the beginning.
I think so.
For sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
It's not crapping on you. I'm just saying you struggled
Absolutely.
with it in the beginning.
Yeah.
We all were.
Because it's all on you, yeah.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's not on you, and you're like, but it's still all on me.
And I think what you find, and at least what I've seen, is when you bring the right people in and you create that team and that autonomy and let people run with their jobs, great things come out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And a lot of that goes to making sure people are in their wheelhouse. And back to the last one, making sure you're playing on their strengths, right? So, yeah, that's a great point.
100%.
It's funny because when you first said that, my mind went to, well, isn't it a leader's job to find solutions to problems? It is, but it's also your job to rely on, like you said, it's your job to rely on your team to be able to do that and have faith in them coming up with those solutions without you. So that's a good point. I like that, Adam.
Yeah. It goes to what I said when we had our leadership training. The visionary person has to be a good communicator, right?
Sure.
And that's really what it comes down to. So
Good call.
we've been talking about this a little bit, behaving inconsistently and the need to be consistent. So as a leader.
Am I just supposed to be consistently an asshole? I'm not.
Well, I think it's
You've
important.
done a good job. You've done a
Thanks.
good job over
Yeah.
there.
I do my best.
Yeah, because if you're not practicing what you're preaching or what you're doing, then you're not living what you're preaching to other people or you expect them to do.
That was so deep.
Say that again. Write that on the board.
So deep.
Write it on the board right now, please.
Can you feel that, Captain Compost? That was good, Adam. No, I'm just messing with you. That was cool.
It was the beef jerky did
The
him well.
Tabasco beef
Tabasco.
jerky.
It's got me
him.
all-
He's all
me
fired up.
Spiced up this morning.
You're so
I got the
spicy.
pumpkin spice coffee
Well-
too.
Pumpkin. You got the pumpkin spice. Drinking
Country bumpkin.
pumpkin spice with a
Tabasco.
Tabasco Slim Jim.
I think the other part of this, though, is that whole wishy-washy. Like, what? It's like the two-sided person. Like, what person am I getting today? So if you're not being consistent with your behavior, like I've had leaders where it's like, what am I walking into today? Am I walking into the nice person, or am I walking into this raging lunatic that has no idea what's going on? Right.
Sets
So-
expectations. Like people have to expect how they can communicate with you. If every time they communicate with you, it's a different version of you, then they're going to shut down and not try to communicate with you.
Right. Lacking courage.
I think everybody struggles with that. I mean,
To me, this is a big one. Like, I think as a leader, you have to have the courage to do the things that are the right thing, even if it means being not loved or accepted for the right thing, right? It's just like any type of, advocacy work in some ways that you could be doing. Like, do the right thing.
with what you're saying, I mean, and over the years of watching Adam and not being a very trusting person very early on just not trusting, period, just from my past, and watching how he dealt with situations early on, as far as he always did it the right way. You know what I mean? There was never anything, if it was perceived shady, he wouldn't do it, So I've always respected that in Adam and how he handles himself as far as that. So
thank you.
yeah, I just I knocked you down a minute ago. I wanted to
Yeah,
bring you
you're
back
building
up.
me back up.
That's
there.
funny
Appreciate
because
it,
you know,
Kick
when
stroke
when
kick.
you think courage, I initially I lean towards the courage to do things that would be unconventional, or the courage to push forward. But you make a great point, because it's also the courage to do the right thing in the situations,
absolutely.
right? So that's a great point, because my mind didn't go there, and now it
And a
does.
lot of people
my
don't
mind
in
went
business.
right where yours went, but I also think too, like the courage to do the right thing is that's probably harder than even doing the you know what I mean, especially
Agreed.
in business. There's a lot of shady stuff could happen in business.
Yeah.
You know? So I think it takes an honorable person to do the right thing in those things as well. Yeah.
You have all the honor, Adam. So honorable.
Oh, thank you.
You can also take this down the path of the difficult conversations. If you lack the courage to have a difficult conversation, you are not effective, right? This is why why Rob feels like an asshole all the time, because he's usually
I
the
live
one
in that
having-
zone.
right? But a lot of people aren't comfortable with that. But but you have to. Somebody has to be able to do that.
You can't allow your business
Right.
to fail because you're afraid or don't want to make difficult decisions for fear of
Hurting somebody's
hurting somebody
feelings, or
right.
yeah,
Well, we live in a society where you can't be honest with people if it hurts their feelings, right? That's like you're chastised if you're honest with people. I feel like you have to beat around the bush. Like you can't tell people exactly how you feel.
passive aggressive.
Yeah, it's like weird. It's like, you know, it's like almost like if you're an honest and straightforward person, you're looked at negatively.
You know what, though?
Which
I
is
feel like
sad.
that's the best way to handle those situations, is to be direct, factual, and to the point and where you stand. Because when you get into the wishy-washy back and forth because you don't want to give somebody bad news or you want to placate to what they want,
Mm-hmm.
it's only going to make them more upset when you don't do what they're expecting you to do.
Right.
And I struggle with that. I think Rob, you definitely do a better job at dealing with those types of situations. And then being able to effectively communicate that in a way where the other person can also see that point of view is important.
Right.
And that's a delicate balance. I wasn't always good at that part of things. Like I was always good at like being straightforward with people, but I think that sometimes I did it to the manner where it was too aggressive, and it wasn't in a teaching moment, right? Like where it was more of a, this is how it is and that's just how it's going to be. And I think over the years I've been able to kind of work on that balance where it's more of a teaching moment than it is a like scolding moment, right? So it's like that balance.
The diplomacy part.
Yeah, it's a hard, and that's hard to do because, you know, people don't usually take criticism well. So then if they get on the defense, which in turn puts you on the defense, and then it creates like an environment that's not conducive to any kind of growth.
Right. And it goes back
Good
to
point.
the listening skills when we were talking earlier, and about like the direct approach with you, like how you want somebody to be direct with you so that you're listening. But when you're having difficult conversations, you have to also know how to communicate to that individual person, right? So that they hear you, right? Sometimes it's, can you repeat what I just said to you? Or, you know, you have to be a little bit softer or a little bit, you know, less aggressive with certain people to get your point across. Lacking accountability.
Oh, you're not even, if you can't be accountable, you're not even a leader. Like that's
100%
yeah,
agree
you
with
have to hold, you have to be able to like, I suck. I screwed that up. Hey guys, I screwed it up. I just had this conversation with a good friend of mine. He's 33, and he's in a position of leadership, and he screwed up really bad. And he's like, I didn't screw up. I don't see it that way. And we had this long talk, and I'm like, hey, if you're going to go back into this leadership position, if you want to get back in this leadership, you have to own it. And I'm like, and you have to own it because if you don't, when you ask people to hold themselves accountable, they're not going to respect you. And we just literally I just had this conversation last Tuesday at lunch with a good friend of mine about that.
Yeah, and I think you get more buy-in from people when you do that, because I think people can accept when people make mistakes when they're admitted to, and they can move on. It's when you don't, or you never admit that just lingers on. Like you said, you're not going to get the buy-in from people. They're not going to respect you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's no closure.
Yeah.
Like you didn't provide closure, so it's just something that lingers, like you said.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I'm going to give it to you from the culture standpoint too, since we were talking about culture earlier. It's your favorite word. I know. Rob's rolling his eyes at me right now. But just from my experience, I've worked in an organization that was very much like, we want you to be accountable, right? So if you walked into a meeting and you said, yeah, I screwed up, like, this is what I did, this is how I fixed it, this is how I'm going to make sure it doesn't happen again, right? That was how we were always worked as an organization, and everyone was like, great, you failed, but you learned from it, right? The first time I did that, when I moved to a new organization, I got my head chewed off. You're not allowed to admit when you're wrong. It was literally like, you need to find the blame in somebody else. That was how the culture of that company was. And I was like, I knew right then, I'm like, why am I here? This is not a good fit for me, right? Because right away it was like, that culture existed that you weren't allowed to hold yourself accountable. You had to put it on somebody else. And that's awful. That's an awful place to be.
The only place that's acceptable is in politics, right?
Apparently not, but yeah. Overcompensating to hide insecurities.
That's where ego comes into play.
Yeah.
I've always said anybody with a huge ego is self-conscious.
Yeah.
And they're trying to mask that.
Yeah.
That's always been my thing for ego.
It's fear, right? It's fear driven.
You're afraid people are going to see you for who you really are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes that's not even who you are. That's how you perceive yourself to be, because you have
Right.
no self-conscious. Confidence. Yeah. You know what's funny is I don't even fix it. I just look at Corey because I'm waiting for him to correct me.
Is that a nature or a nurture thing?
What's that?
What,
What you described?
overcompensating?
Yeah, or
The fear.
fear, or
Mm.
no confidence.
I don't
Nature
know.
or nurture. That's that psychology thing,
I
right?
know. That'd be a nurture thing, I feel like.
I feel like it is.
feel like
Because
it's
that's more
nurture.
of a psychological thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because something in your life has probably triggered you to not have confidence in yourself, right?
Yeah, that would have to be a nurture thing, I
Yeah.
think.
Being reluctant to admit mistakes. This kind of just goes back to lacking accountability, right? So if you fuck up, just admit you did. Falling out of touch with employees.
I like that. Because then you're not part of the team.
Yeah.
And then I know I have to hold myself accountable for that sometimes, because I get lost in the day-to-day minutia. And then, like, I actually tell, like, Katie sometimes, I'm like, hey, if you see me kind of distancing or whatever, reel me in. Like, it's okay to reach out to me and be like, hey, like, where are you at? So I try to touch base with them daily, but not always great at that. But I think that, that's important, because you're on the team. Like, even like, Jeff was going through a creative block that he talked to us about on Monday. But if I would have been reaching out to him on a regular basis, I probably would have known that sooner, but we got through it immediately. So, we're on the phone and he's like, hey, I'm going through a creative block. And I'm like, what is the first thing that you need to fix? And then boom, I hit him with a bunch of ideas. Katie hit him with a bunch of ideas. And by Wednesday now he's out of the creative block. Right. And I think sometimes that, it's important to be in touch and in tune with your team members, because you can get through those things faster.
Right.
Yeah. No, I totally agree
Yeah.
with that.
I think this also ties with having empathy and being empathetic, not anti-empathetic, as Rob said earlier. Like, understanding where your employees are coming from, right? Understanding where they are in their lives, asking the right questions, right? Like, why are you late to work all the time? It shouldn't be, what the hell is your problem? Why are you late to work all the time? It should be, what's going on? Like, is something going on? Do you need help with something? Are you having a hard time getting up in the morning? Like, whatever,
good point.
So it's having that.
You have a hard time getting up, Corey? No, you're like an old man.
Hard time. He
You're
has a
like
hard time not
5:30 in the
getting up.
morning, right?
Sometimes early.
Dude, I was up at 4:30 this morning.
4:30, 5:30.
Down at the local diner drinking coffee.
I was up at
That's
8:30.
you,
Coming soon.
Adam.
That's coming
That's
soon.
you.
Am I going to see you there?
Maybe.
I think the other piece to this too is, obviously, as organizations get bigger, the higher up you get in the food chain, a lot of times you get lost in the sauce, right? Way up here, and you forget what's going on here. I had some great bosses that literally would know every person's name. There's 400 people in the building. They would know every person, and they would find one common thing about that person that they could always, say, hey, I listened to this song the other day and I thought of you because I know you like this musician or whatever.
When early on, we knew everybody, as far as our agents, and I'm speaking in our central PA group, and now I'm seeing people I have no clue who they are, and that's probably not good. We should have we should have a relationship with all of our agents. You know, all of the kind of we're doing franchise stuff now and kind of focused on that. So we've kind of fallen back a little bit there, which I think we need to get better with.
I don't know. I'm a firm believer that as long as you put the structure in place and you have the people in place to replace that portion of what you should have done, you're good. Like if there's somebody, it all comes down to the people that you put in place. Because if you have someone under you who is in that position and they're doing a really great job of that, as long as you're taking care of that person and they're taking care of the people under them, like that whole trickle down effect, I think you're good. And I think that, you know, the people who don't do that are the people who aren't putting people in place, who aren't delegating the work. They're the people who try to take everything on, wear too many hats, and then they get lost in the day-to-day because there's so many things going on.
You get overwhelmed.
Yeah, but that really goes to saying putting the people in place, right? Like putting good people in place to be able to do that for you.
Agreed. Failing to build trust. That's a huge one. Right.
That kind of goes back to accountability too.
Right.
I mean, that actually could go back to a lot of the things we talked about early, like all those numbers. If you go through them, like if you don't do these things, people aren't going to trust you as a good leader.
Yeah.
And you gotta implement too, and you gotta be successful, and you gotta win. You know, like if you want to have trust of your team, you gotta deliver too.
Right. And allow your team to deliver. Right.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Sure, yeah.
But,
It's all about winning.
I want to win.
Kidding.
No matter what.
All right, we're almost through these. Hesitating to ask for help.
Yeah, I may struggle with that a little bit.
I think every single one of us at this table struggles with that.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It comes with the roles that we're in at the moment too. So, but I do think it's okay to ask for help. But I think we're all stubborn.
It's okay to admit that you're not the expert at everything.
Right.
It is okay.
I think sometimes though it's not wanting to put that stress or pressure on someone else.
true.
Like, you know, sometimes for me, like if I have something I need to get done, I don't want to ask Adam because Adam's getting his ass kicked. I don't want to ask Lisa because Lisa's getting her ass kicked. So for me, it's not even that I don't want to give it up or that I don't want to admit that I can't do it. It's that I feel bad putting it on my partners because they already have so many things going on. So I think there's that side of it too. Not just the inability to admit that you can't do something, but not wanting to burden people, your partners or, you know, your coworkers or whatever that may be.
I think the flip side of it is some people see it as a sign of weakness too, right?
Yeah, because, well, even coming...
That's societal too.
Mm-hmm.
You want to show your worth in your position too. You know, coming from like an employee perspective, you know, you want to show that you can do your job and, you know, you can do what is expected.
If you're a man, you don't need help, right?
Yeah,
We are programmed for that.
You are
you're programmed for that for sure.
And I'm supposed to be the one who's like, I need help. I'm a damsel in distress. Okay. Habitually procrastinating.
Oh.
Ouch. Ugh. Guilty as charged.
And do you use the excuse, I thrive under pressure?
Never. I never use it. I admit, I know what it is. Like I used to say that, oh, I like it because my best work comes out of that, but it's not true. I mean, I do great work in that situation, but I know what it is.
Yeah.
It's just the way my brain works.
But think about when you and I have been backed up against a wall and we've got nothing else. What do we do? What do we do?
Yeah,
under that pressure, we do well. So
that's my daughter's like that actually, Maddie. Mm-hmm. She just bangs stuff out. She's like, yeah, I got like 15 assignments due tomorrow, and she'll just sit down and crank them out in like an hour and be like, boom, done. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not mad at. I mean, I guess if the result's there, it's okay. But you know where procrastination becomes a problem is where you procrastinate and then you don't get it done on time, or you just can put it off because you can't do it. We talk about that though, right?
We
Like
literally
taxes.
just had that conversation. Yeah, we just literally had that conversation.
Like I wait so long to get it to my accountant. And then when I sit down to do it, it takes me like 30 minutes. And I'm like, well, that was stupid. I can't believe
why did I wait for so
I can't believe I waited
that's
for
not
6 months.
procrastination. That's avoidance. Those are two very distinct things.
I think they cause more stress,
Yeah.
in my opinion, because then you're constantly thinking about it and
You and I are
dreading
like
that you
That's
have
a
to do
good
it.
point.
You're 100% right.
100% right.
If
This
you would
is
just
why
do
Adam
it,
and I just do it.
bang it out.
And exactly what you're saying right now, I've said to my son, if you just do it now, it's avoidance for him. The amount of effort, and I'm talking about my older son, but the amount of effort, well, and my younger one's starting to a little bit, the amount of effort you put into not doing it or to avoiding it, if you just did it, I mean, you'd be fine. Like, same thing for me. I mean, if I would just have put my time in doing what I was supposed to be doing when I was supposed to be doing it and not, I would have been
then you
a
aren't
billionaire
backed
at
up.
this
You're
point in
not
life.
backed up against the wall then.
Right.
Yeah.
You know where I
But
was
there's
really bad?
something that we like about that, though. I don't know what it is. We must, because we continue to do it. So I don't know.
You know what I was really bad at with that I learned my lesson was bills, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like I used to avoid paying bills, not because I didn't have the money, but I would just not do it. And then I would always pay them late. And then there was like a time in my life where
And these two are like cringing right now.
Yeah, there was a time in my life though. There was a time in my life that I was like, okay, I have bad credit now because of this. When I look at the fees that I incurred during those time periods, I would have so much more money. And then, so what I did then, and part of it is technology and the way you can do things in modern day is all my bills are on auto pay now. So everything, and there's a couple that aren't, and I make sure I always, it's, and you're right. And that alleviates that stress of that bill. That bill's paid. You don't even have to think about it. But before for 30 days, I was like, oh, I never paid the gas bill. Maybe I should pay that today.
It is
I'll
nice
pay it
having
tomorrow.
auto pay. I try and put everything I can on credit cards because I get bonus and cash back rewards.
same thing.
But to be very blunt and honest, there's something about having to do it that makes me not want to do it, whatever it is.
Agreed.
I don't give a shit if it's a bill or if it's I have to go to this place because at this time I don't want to do it just because I have to. What is that?
It's why I'm late all the time.
Why is that though?
It is why I'm late.
I get it. But I finally gotten better with that. I've gotten a little bit better with that. But
Because you feel like you're being controlled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But why? Where is that down? I
Corey-
guess I'm going to learn soon in school. But why I am the way I am. But anyway.
But you can use some of that same energy to hold yourself accountable to do it. Because you have to do it, so you're going to force yourself to do it. And it's due, in your own mind, it's due now. And hold yourself accountable.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's a mind trick. I don't.
It's like coming here to the office. I don't come here because I don't not come here because I don't want to. I do it because I feel trapped. Like if I come to listen, I'm telling you,
We tie him
Yes,
down.
I do.
Shackle
Listen, I
his
can't
ass.
really
I
explain
get
it, and I'm not productive. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not productive like that. Like when I was in real estate, I never went to the real estate office. I used to go to like a coffee shop or a bar or a restaurant
I
or
get it.
like somewhere where like I wasn't tied. I cannot be tied down to a place. Like it drives me nuts.
I did that when I was in college. Like I
Yeah.
would go somewhere purposely, and I was even if it was a coffee shop, and I would focus and read and study, there, rather than being at home or whatever, walking to the kitchen, eating. Coming.
I'm
back
even
and
better
forth.
at home.
Or, yeah.
Like I'm okay. If I go to my home office, I'm great because I'm at home. It's my office. I'm in shorts. I'm in a tank top. I'm drinking a coffee, doing whatever the hell I want. But as soon as I walk into this building, I'm like, I'm at the fucking office and now I got to work. Like this is stupid.
See, I'm
Like,
the
it's
opposite.
weird.
Like
Yeah,
I
you
get
love
more
it.
done over there than I do probably in my.
I'm a
basement
mixture. Like I do like to come here for for my quietness, and I'm over here. Katie and I hardly say anything all day. We're just busy working.
It's super
like,
quiet here. Nobody talks to
it's
each other.
Crazy.
Like
Because the two loud ones are at home.
But there's
it's
times.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you guys really want us in the
No,
office on
no,
a
we
daily
don't.
basis?
No, we don't.
But then there's times when I actually do prefer being home. Like if let's just say I'm going to go for a long run in the morning and I don't want to have to rush out of the house and shower and everything.
good
I
point.
can I can work out and smell myself all day long and keep working and do whatever I need to do and crank workout. So for me, it's a
A little
balance.
too much information there.
I also like to pace when I'm on the phone. So like
Yeah.
I do that too.
if like I'm in deep, I'm 90% of my day I feel like I'm on the phone. So then I'm like on the phone and I can walk to the pantry and snack on something. I can go out to my garage and move something.
My neighbors say to me all the time, they're like, I saw you in your office, and I literally am walking around my yard. I'll walk around my yard. I'm in my front yard. I'm like picking sticks up as I'm on.
Well,
but that's what I do.
And again, that's where your rules are very different from ours, because we do have to be in front of a computer, right? So I do use the stand-up desk just so I can get up and down, or I'll go sit on the couch, or I'll, wherever I'm comfortable. But
when I'm recruiting too, I'm moving. Like I can't stay still.
I literally was on a Zoom training the other day, and the girl that was doing it was standing up the whole time. Like, I just came undone, but yeah. And she was standing up, moving around, and I'm like, okay, dude, like, chill out.
Don't come undone.
You know what it is for me?
Put yourself back together.
I think if I'm moving, that solves the ADHD part, so then I can focus on the phone call a little better. I think that's at least I tell myself that.
I feel like I need outside stimuli too, like music of some sort, not like crazy music, but I need to have something else happening.
I usually have
in
music
order to
on something. 2 more to go. Lacking empathy, which we talked a little bit about before, and I always say I'm guilty of this in a lot of respects, because I can be the least empathetic sometimes. I try my hardest to be empathetic, but then there's a point where I'm like, okay, I can't anymore. So, but at least I'm aware. Awareness is the first key to that, right? This is the last one. Being unaware of the power of your words.
Ooh.
And I think that's actions too. It's not just words, right? If you're not aware of what you're saying, what you're doing can impact others.
Yeah, that's on both sides too. Like, I think sometimes you're not aware of the power of your words and positivity, and you don't use them as much as you should because you're not aware of that.
Good point.
Right? As much as it is, you have to be aware of what you say in a negative way can really affect people. But I think you have to be equally aware of both. And I think sometimes I think we all lack on that. I think we lack on knowing that we have a voice. I think that, some of that comes with the humbleness, but I think there's the humility, but I think there's a balance, because if you have too much humility, or you're too humble and you're too reserved, then people will stop looking at you as the leader, right? You have to lead sometimes, and that's a really good one. That one's deep. My mind is
like
going
the
now.
agents that don't like to talk about that they're agents, secret agents. They call
Seriously
them.
though,
Secret agents.
there are secret agents, and some of those secret agents crush it. It's so weird, but but they have. I mean, I guess you can become a secret agent down the road when you have referrals just coming to you, right?
I mean, there's words that have been were spoken to me as a kid that have never left my brain. You know what I mean? So that negative and positive. So that power is huge, both, like you just said, both ways. And I for myself, I know I struggle. When I'm done with someone, I let them have it occasionally, and then afterwards, I'm like, man, that was I shouldn't have said that. Or
I'm the captain now.
I think, going back to what Rob was just saying, I started thinking about this the other day. There's an Instagram leader. I feel like there's people right now in the world in general try to put the pretty version of what leadership is. Not influencers. I'm just saying they could be leaders in their jobs, in their organizations and whatever, but they're giving you the Instagram version of leadership.
False prophets.
Right.
I always
But
say
everybody thinks they are right now. I mean, like, everybody wants to be the expert in everything.
And that, I think, then people tend to go, I don't want to be that person, so I'm just going to be the humble side of myself and be like, you know what?
That's a great point.
And that's exactly where I'm just,
yeah.
I'm not against people speaking their mind or saying what they feel, but I'm tired of it.
Right.
Like, I just want to do what I do and do it well, but I don't feel like I need to tell everybody what I'm doing. But maybe that's wrong. It's a fine line, man. It's really a fine line.
I think there needs to be a way. I think there is a way that you can do it authentically. Like, there has to be authenticity behind it. Like, that's really what it comes down to, is finding that balance where you're not doing it for self-enjoyment or, self-pleasure or whatever it is. It's
to fill your ego.
Yeah, to fill you're doing it because you truly feel like that's your calling, or that's what you need to do. And you're practicing what you preach, and you're doing it like in a way that's authentic. I think that's there is a way to do it, I think, that's tasteful.
Right.
But you're right. I think probably some of the apprehension is that we're tired of seeing people on social media be false prophets and, overdo it and not practice what they preach. It's annoying.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, man. Crazy. Well, there you go. That's the Fortune 17 ways of not being an effective leader.
Was it Forbes or Fortune?
Forbes. Not Fortune. Forbes.
You did pretty good, Forbes. There was a couple in there that I was, but you did all right.
Okay, let's end it on a fun game. Our deep questions. They're not really that deep. You ready?
I don't want to have fun.
Why?
I'm here for all the fun.
This isn't really that fun. Are you ready? Do you prefer writing with black or blue ink?
Black.
Once you go black, you never go back.
Always bet on black.
Always bet on black.
I kind of like blue ink. A
like
little
blue?
color. But I do write with black ink all the time.
If you work for a title company, you have to use blue.
You do.
I just
And a
like-
lot of
I
legal
just like
documents.
ink.
You just
Just
like
like
ink.
It's like ink.
Do you like ink over lead?
To be honest, what I'd prefer is a Sharpie. I like Sharpie.
Sharpie pens.
Pens are the best ones.
Yes,
Sharpie
they're
pens.
so
I love how they write.
smooth.
Sharpie pen.
They
I
bleed
like the way
though.
they smell. Too.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
like
No,
gel
no.
pens.
No,
I
gel
hate
pens.
gel
no.
pen. They're messy. It's like weird.
Oh, okay.
Not a fan.
I like a good fountain pen.
I
Sharpie
can't do it.
pens.
I would love, one of my biggest things when I was younger was to learn calligraphy. I would love to be able to write in calligraphy.
Like so
It's-
pretty like that.
Yeah, with a fountain pen, like an old school fountain pen and just the
A
calligraphy.
feather.
I would do it.
I
Pen.
have one of those if you want to try it.
Yeah, I got a calligraphy set when I was a kid, and of course I did it 1 or 2 times, and then I was like, yeah, I'm good.
Never really learned.
Yeah, cool. But it would be cool.
If you could learn a new skill, what would it be?
Calligraphy. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. Ooh.
For me, it's speaking multiple languages, and that's many skills. But I feel as Americans, we're like the only country that doesn't speak more than one language. I feel, and so
Yeah.
I'm trying right now. I'm taking Spanish lessons, but from my old high school Spanish teacher. But yeah, I want to learn to speak a couple languages.
Another
I think for me, playing
like
an
that.
instrument.
I think for me, I'm torn between 2 things: auto mechanics and construction. Like I grew up with no father, right, and nobody out there. Like I grew up in an area where people didn't do that, right. So, but I feel like I wish that I was able to work on my own vehicles, or I wish I was able to work on my own home. So like I really wish that I had those, like either construction or both construction and mechanic skills to be able to be self-sufficient, you know, and I envy my friends that are able to do that. So it's funny because I think they envy me for reasons, and I look at them and I'm like, man, if I could do what you did, I'd be so happy.
That's exactly the thought that I was having the other day when I was trying to put that stinking wallpaper up on my. I'm not kidding, dude. I'm like, why didn't I have my dad never showed me any, or, you know what I mean? Didn't
Yeah.
really show me any of that stuff. So it was all me figuring it out on my own, and I'm not real good. I'm not the most handy dude in the world. I'm handy with the steel, if you know what I mean. Sorry.
Earn your keep.
I always wanted to learn how to auto body paint. I always thought that would be cool, like pinstriping.
You mean like paint your own body? Auto body painting?
Yeah, I always thought it'd be cool to learn how to do that. So, do you prefer baths or showers?
Showers.
Oh, 100% showers.
Is that even a question?
I don't know.
What are we in the 1900s? Early 1900s?
Do you like your name?
Yes, I do.
No.
Why not?
What do you want us to call you?
Something other than fucking Robert. You know what it is like when, for my generation, I was always in class with Roberts. You know what I mean? It was just it's such a Robert.
We can call
Hey,
you Dick
Bobby.
if you want.
I'm here for it. Actually, I like my middle
Your
name.
middle name
My
is
middle name's Josiah. I wish that would have been my actual name. I would roll
I'm going
with
to call you
that.
RJ from now on.
Call me RJ. I'm here for it.
RJ.
RJ Kleeper.
So I don't know. Daquan or something. I'm not sure what they call me DQ. No, I think my name is stupid. It's Robert. I don't know. Whatever.
It's a traditional
Yeah.
name.
Not traditional.
It's
I like my name.
You like your name?
It's just
The
good,
original
it's just good for an
name, right?
80-year-old man, you know. Sorry. Not yours. I was talking about his.
Oh, okay.
The only thing I hate about my
Yeah, you were
name
talking
is
about
because I'm a child of the 70s. So Lisa Marie.
We all have the regular names.
Yeah. Ricardo.
I think we should call him Dick from now on. This is a nickname.
Well, we do already.
Here for it.
we kind of already do.
Call me whatever you want. I'm just not a fan of Robert.
All right, last one. What is the strangest thing you have ever eaten?
Adam.
Chocolate
Gotta
covered
think about that one.
grasshoppers.
Were they good?
It didn't taste weird. I don't know.
Just tasted like chocolate.
Yeah, it wasn't really anything crazy.
I don't know. I eat just about anything, so I don't know.
What's
Trying
the
to think.
weirdest?
I'm trying to think what the weirdest would have
Did
been.
you eat eel?
Oh, I've
I
had
have.
eels.
Feels
Good.
good.
I don't feel like
Frog's
that's weird
legs.
though.
Frog, I've eaten that.
Caviar.
Caviar, I've had.
What I was told was alligator. I don't know
Alligator.
What it was.
Oh, I
Shark.
like alligator.
Yeah.
Well, what's the weirdest thing? Probably maybe conch. Like
Oh, I
that.
love conch
Yeah.
fritters.
Conch, yeah.
Conch
Yes, so
I don't
good.
know.
Conch fritters.
Elk.
I swallowed a worm too.
Oh, I did that
Tequila
too.
bottle.
I swallowed an actual earthworm
Oh
on
yeah.
a dare, yeah, and a goldfish.
See, you
A
get some weird ones.
goldfish?
Oh, do you remember
You
when everybody
swallowed
did
a
that?
Oh, the goldfish.
Yeah.
Ew.
We
When we
go
were
to
kids,
the
everybody
fair.
did that.
I love
We're like,
Katie's
I bet
face
you won't
right
eat
now.
it. I bet you
How
won't
is
eat it.
how
Yes,
is
I
that
will.
not the weirdest thing right away?
It was. I guess that is pretty weird.
That is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
You
you
feel
can
it?
feel it swimming around for
Oh.
a little bit. Yes, you do. I drank the
Ew.
water and all, man. Yeah, down you go.
Oh, gross.
There's so much nastiness in that.
You
water.
actually just made me sick to my stomach.
Sorry.
He already was sick to his stomach. It
I was
just
a
made
kid
it
eating
worse.
crayons too in elementary school.
Did you
know.
eat glue
glue.
too?
I ate
the-
glue.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Probably ate some paint chips along the way too.
The best part was I don't want to get it. So there. You remember like
The Elmer's glue?
the Elmer's glue? It would have like the little cap over top of the.
Yes.
I would
Yeah.
like peel that
Peel
off.
it off and eat.
Yeah, I would eat it.
Ew.
What's wrong
See,
with that?
I
Jesus.
always
on your
love.
fingers.
I always like the Elmer's glue sticking it on your hand and letting it dry and then taking it off.
Peel it off.
Peeling
Because
it
it
off
would
like
be
This
so
is what's wrong with
soft
us, Katie.
afterwards.
This is what's wrong with us.
That's what happened in the 80s.
So we had nothing else to do. Ross's rubber cement, you rolled into little balls. Remember that?
You know what? You just said we had nothing better to do. So I just watched Sly last night.
Was that good?
Listen, I'm going to tell you guys right now, if you're in business or you just watch Sly, his story is really crazy. He's a cool dude, super talented, and like he had a crazy childhood, but he talked about it. So he grew up in Hell's Kitchen, and he was like, our watching movies and being on the internet was sitting in our window with the window open, observing everything that happened on our block.
Right.
And, it's kind of crazy to think about, like, now the way we get integrated with the world is through the internet, through our phones, through TV. And back then, people, they were integrated with the world by the world, like
Yeah.
physically,
Like
like the actual interaction with people. And he's like, we'd yell over at each other and we'd be like, hey, you coming over this week? And we'd be like, yeah, I'll be over Thursday. And like, he's like, that's how we grew up. We just sat in the window stoop and just talk, or sat on the porch or sat in the windowsill and just talked to everybody. So
Well, how
that
many
was
times
kinda
did you
cool.
go knock on somebody's window or somebody knock on your
yeah.
window? Like
on their
that's
bedroom
how we
window,
used to do that
like,
all the
wake
time.
up, bro,
yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
Throw the rocks up at the window.
Yeah.
Or you'd have to look to see where the bikes were, like whose house were everybody. You knew where everybody was because you'd see their bike out front. You'd be like, oh, they're all there. All right, I'm going there.
I literally would leave at like 7 in the morning in the summertime, like 7 in the morning, and I'd be out. I'd be gone all day. I'd come home. I'd maybe come home for lunch, and then I'd be back out again, and I'd be back out till dark. Just wherever.
It's like a 7-year-old
riding,
just roaming.
It's for real. Like I think about my kids. Like, man, I wish I was young when you were little. I was like, I would never let you do that now. I mean, I would never.
Yeah.
I was 10 miles away from home on a
Oh,
bike,
yeah.
jumping off of cliffs and.
we were too, man.
Seriously. We
We
lived.
were 10, 11, we
fun.
were all over.
Heck
Yeah, I had a book. I left every day with a book bag and a basketball in the summer. And then I would just roll. And then we'd all tell our friends, they'd be like, hey, if you don't get to my house by 10 a.m., I'm gone, or whatever it would be. And then they'd be like, where are you going to be? I'm like, at all the parks. And we would literally just go to one park,
around and see where
play
everybody's
ball. And then people would be like done there. So we'd be like, all right, let's go down to the next one. And it would be like, 3 miles away. And we'd walk to that park and you'd play ball there. And like,
I would ride the 6th Street playground all the time. And
South
play.
6th Street.
South 6th Street was the spot back in the day. So
yeah, we did South 6th Street, South Hills, Tot Lot, Progressive. Like we just bounced to all of
I
them.
hated South Hills, those double rims.
Yeah,
I
it was
always
tough.
hated those. Anyway,
Or all the hills that you had to bike on in South Hills.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever go to the Hilltop playground?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea that was there.
Yeah, it
So,
is
like,
kind of in a
recently.
weird
Yeah,
little area. Yeah.
It's pretty big.
We didn't really, we go there occasionally, but
Yeah.
not really like that. It's a lot nicer now than it was when we were kids.
but all I did was ride bike though. I mean, my legs were like strong as hell, man, from just riding constantly.
Did you have the
That's all we
BMX bike with the plastic rims in it?
I
Wheels?
had a Predator, a Schwinn Predator.
Oh, yeah.
I had a dyno.
Nice.
I had all the.
I think my dyno was
was
my
a bike
favorite.
guy.
I had a lot. Well, I'm not going to say how I acquired them.
Same,
but I had-
probably the same way I.
I had a lot of bikes, and I think my dyno was my favorite bike. I had a dyno that was like, it was like teal or turquoise, and it had the white mags.
light blue. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
You have
that
the
was-
pegs too, front
Oh,
and back.
yeah.
we did.
Always had the pegs.
We'd always ride.
And then
people
your
on the
friend would be
pegs.
on the back
Yeah.
of the pegs. You're like, yo, where you going? I'd be riding by him like, yo, jump on the back of the
Yeah.
pegs.
Or they'd sit up on the front handlebars.
Man, why can't life be that simple again?
The front handlebars.
when I thought it was terrible. and it was actually not the complete opposite of what I thought it was.
We talked about that on one of our podcasts about how
Yeah.
we thought for the longest time that we had a terrible childhood, but now when you look back at it, the simple things were amazing. Even though I was poor and I had a lot of crazy stuff happen, I was really blessed to have like a simple life, be able to skateboard across town, ride bike, whatever. I missed those
Drink
days.
water from a hose.
Yeah.
I still do that.
Play in the rain.
I still do that.
Still do that. Just drink
Just
from
to
a
bring
hose.
back memories.
Man, we went all off on a tangent on this
Yeah.
leadership.
Yeah, my mom
man.
would always say, "You're gonna get something lockjaw from drinking the water out of the."
What?
She would always say, "You're
From
gonna
the
get
rust.
lockjaw from the rust." Yeah,
I never heard that.
yeah, that was the thing. That was-
Tetanus.
Yeah.
Tetanus.
They called it lockjaw.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
And like growing up in Florida, when it rained and you played in the ditches, it was always you were going to get worms or something, some
Or
kind of.
I would worry about
grossness.
alligators down there. I would be.
And we played
Scared
in the
of that.
ditches, man. We swam in the rivers.
Our parents told us a lot of dumb stuff.
Yeah.
We used to ride snowmobiles through like everybody's farm fields and yards, and like some people would get super ticked off about that, and, like chase us, like landowners.
Yeah.
Yeah, fun time.
Pool hopping.
We did the pool hopping in Florida.
I think we talked about that before too,
Yeah.
though. Anyway, I digress.
We digressed off of tangents.
Goonies never say
onto-
die.
Goonies never. They're coming back out with that. They're
Well,
releasing.
they've
They're
been saying
re-releasing it.
that.
Right? No, I thought they were re-releasing it in the theaters.
Yeah, but I think that already happened only in select theaters. Yeah, I love the.
I
Goonies.
love that movie.
They're actually coming out with a new one. They've been saying that for 4 years.
I don't know that I
it's
want a
not-
new one. I kind of hate that all these new movies are coming.
Who's the
I'm good
director
with the
for
new one.
Goonies again?
Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, Spielberg,
Yeah.
right? All right. Hey, Sylvester Stallone, we just plugged Sly, so we'll take a check. And Steven Spielberg, go out and see Goonies. We'll take that check too. Thank you. Rebels of Real Estate.
Wrap it up.
All right, guys. Peace out.
All right, later.